Okay, we're back. I could not help myself. I have opened the page 410, and if you're not on YouTube watching this, this is literally like a ream of paper. That's the size of it. When you go to Officeworks, grab a ream of paper.
Yeah.
This is what you're grabbing. This textbook is huge. Before I talk about this next section that I want to test myself with, if there was, and I don't know enough about schooling, but if I've got a listener who is a teacher, do they get the latitude to do their own lesson planning, provided it's within the curriculum? So could a teacher listening to this go to your website, and we'll put a link in the show notes and the details on YouTube to your website. Could they individually buy this book?
Yeah, absolutely. So the beauty of this book is it's packaged into this. So there's 108 pages, or we call them learning chapters. So a learning chapter is one page of theory, it's fully illustrated, and then one worksheet. So you can use that and flip through, chop and, pick what you like. Or we also bundle the whole program into 42 different lessons. So if you literally just want to pick a lesson, you go, bang, I've got the PowerPoint, I've got the theory videos, I've got the worksheets, off we go. So it's really up to you how you use it. And we find that there are two really interesting use cases. It's either individual careers, commerce, maths teachers that buy their own copy of the book or their own digital teacher pass, and they just use it as they need. They pick certain pages, pick certain lessons, and it's basically a resource of theory that's age appropriate and enjoyable, and it's illustrated and it's nice, so you can use it to supplement what you're already teaching. Or our second use case is schools, and more schools are doing this, which I absolutely love, is they're creating dedicated financial education electives for their students.
So the schools do have the latitude to teach stuff within the curriculum and all the codes that you have in this book.
That's it. So it's really, we've got to be careful here. It's a little bit like accounting. It's a little bit science, a little bit of an art form. So how teachers choose to match up to the curriculum codes is up to them. We provide, a multitude of different curriculum codes that they could be relevant for them.
Yeah.
But we are exploring partnerships with an AI teachers help program
to help plug it in.
Exactly, to take our content, supercharge it, and basically allow a teacher to go, hey, I want this content, but create activities that are relevant to code X, X, and X, because that is what I want to be teaching my kids. So it's using the content, the theory as a base, and you've got that A to Z structure.
Why don't you lean into that as your core business model for all the curriculum?
Oh, it really should actually. Yeah, create that underlying content. Yeah.
Anyway, so all that to say, individual teachers can jump on your website, buy a copy, have a flip through.
Yes, they can buy a copy, and it's there's lots of different versions of it in terms of digital hard copy.
And if it sounds like I'm selling and promoting this book, it's because I am. Barbara hasn't paid me to come on this show. We'll share maybe later how we met. It was a bit random. Number two, I can't see any reason for engaged parents to jump on and buy a copy if they want to use it in their own house.
That's it. It's a resource, and we are working on resources for parents and individuals, young people. But the actual content in there is absolute gold. And, as someone who is, very self-critical of work that I produce, it is honestly the best thing since sliced bread for young people and finances, because it's this beautiful, illustrated.
I can't believe how much work has gone into this.
It is just a really good resource, and it could literally be something that you on a Thursday night dinner, the conversation's a bit low. You go, right, we're just going to pick up a random page.
We're going to do some fun tonight.
And it's not, Glenn, you can attest to this. It doesn't feel like a finance book in any way, shape or form.
Feels like a ream of paper. So So you've got a whole chapter on investing, which we'll get to.
Yes.
But I probably haven't promoted this enough for you. But do you know, like you've got, is there like an index? Where is the...
No, it should be up the front.
Oh, yeah, here we go. So these are all the things that's involved with everyone. Basic budgeting, expenses deep dive, smart spending, intro to super, which is cool because like Grace, my niece, she's just started her first job. Guess what? She's got a super account.
Yep.
Super fund basics, choosing your super fund. So 3 big sections on super. Mm-hmm. And that's important because that's for a lot of people going to be their biggest lifetime asset. Mm-hmm. Tax, boring, but it's in there. It's important.
Well, it is. And it's also, especially with the politics or the elections recently, understanding how your vote influences.
That's right. And then so you've got a lot on, and it goes on. But this investing thing, there's an activity here which is, I think, really cool. How do I interpret investing news? And you've also got, like any good curriculum book, for year 9 and 10, you have the maths and the economics, business and civics and citizenship codes. So educators can plug in this to, that vibe. Mm-hmm. And this activity is below are a series of headlines and scrambled set of explanations. Match the explanation to the headline by writing the corresponding letter of each in the blank newspaper section. I'm going to see if I can do this. I haven't pre-read. Okay, the first one. Geez, you really teach people because the first one is inflation eases for the first time in months. Okay, let's have a look here.
Which is a headline that you'll absolutely see, and not just the AFR, but on your, daily news.
Where's E maybe? The Reserve Bank increased interest rates, which means borrowing money is more expensive to help slow down rising prices.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah. Next one.
Yep.
Stock markets tumble amid uncertainty. Oh my gosh, big headlines. Okay, well, what could that mean?
That's been a big headline recently.
Yeah.
At time of recording.
Yeah. Stock prices dropped sharply due to concerns about the economy, making investors nervous. So, I mean, if I can do that, probably a 5th grader could because I'm a bit basic.
Well, it's a little bit, and any good exercise, I think, for kids is 50% of it should be they should get straight, they should be able to make those link, and the rest is deduction, and that's where the extension learning happens because the first bit is stuff that they already knew. The second bit where they have to actually figure it out and deduce answers, that's where the extension learning is.
Man, this one, safety, what can I do to avoid scams? I need to send this to my parents as a...
That's a big one. That's
a thing.
That was... so the reason the textbook is so big is we had a much skinnier version last year. And then throughout the year, we had teachers emailing us going, hey, can you add this one? Can you add this topic? Can you add this topic? And when you look at it, it's so hard to take away because all of these topics, I would say there is maximum 1 or 2 topics that you could possibly take out of that book and not deem essential for a young person to have at least had exposure to.
And I think as well, like everything is child dependent. So if a parent had this and they had 3 kids, they might know that, okay, I'll talk about this one with this child and this one for that child. Teachers would know that, I think this class here would probably vibe this exercise today, not that exercise.
Exactly. And I mean, having spent so much time in the classroom teaching elements of this curriculum, no 2 schools are the same and no 2 classrooms are the same in terms of what they're interested in and what their competency levels are, partially because sometimes they've learnt some of this stuff before, depending on where the school is and what they prioritized. So and that's why the book is designed to be flexible because it lets you choose what your students or what your kids are actually going to resonate with and find relevant.
It's even got basic stuff in there about setting up a government ID and my ID, which is very current.
Yep.
One thing I think is very important is there's a whole module here about teaching kids about odds with gambling and how the odds aren't in their favour at all.
No.
So imagine that, learning that gambling equals bad.
Yeah.
As you grow up going, no, I don't do that because I learned and I got the behaviour that, no, it's bad and it's a waste of money.
Yeah. And it's just understanding even the economics behind, like you've got the house, who's the one that organises the gambling, and then you're the person on the other end. And even just simply connecting to a child's brain, like, hey, getting advertising at the MCG or whatever arena you go to watch sport, getting advertising there is silly expensive.
Yeah.
And when 90% of the ads are betting ads, they are making a lot of money. And how are they making money? From the people gambling. So that just tells you that the people gambling are not the ones winning. And it's creating those sorts of connections in their brain that they start to just think differently and critically analyse the world around them, which, I don't know, I find it so fascinating, and I hope other people do too. But because money often gets a really kind of grubby connotation, and I know a lot of people don't want to expose their kids to the concept because they want to protect them from what can be quite a yucky conversation or connotations, but it's fascinating when you dive into it. It's really interesting.
100%. And I love how you've got a whole section on the real world, and you've got the cost of car ownership.
It's very popular.
I'm looking here and I was about to kind of be mad at you, but I won't. So you've got how do I buy tech, and you've got some, an activity with, and you talk about, for example, there is this rent-to-own service, which I'm like, oh, don't know about that. But the good thing is you say this is actually debt.
Yes. And
that's why I was like having a stroke going, no, why are we telling kids about this? But no, this is because this is really important. This is out there.
Yeah.
This is available, but this is what it actually is.
It's like, the question of, do you teach kids about the birds and the bees?
Or do you just
let them? Yeah.
Did I just say that on my podcast?
Yeah, I think so, you did. Like, do you let them? Once again, it's that trial by error, but the error can be really dangerous. So, and then you'll find in the activity, you calculate all your different options, and that option, the rent to own, is by far the worst option. So
you're lucky that we can still have this podcast go to air, Barbara.
And the other reality is the book is designed for every Australian, regardless of where they come from. And the truth is, for a large majority of the population to get access to the necessary technology to educate, to maybe go to university or progress their lives, consumer debt is sometimes one of the only options that they might feel is available to them. So educating them around how to choose the best debt and how to get out of it. And
I really love this, and this is probably a good one for like north of year 10 because it is, 9 to 12.
The book kind of progresses along.
How do I move out of home?
Yeah.
How awesome's that?
Yeah.
There's a whole section on that. But everyone,
we could go on forever.
I could go on forever. I'm frothing on this. A couple of things. I'm going to send this podcast episode to a long-term friend of mine. His name's Aaron Johnson. He's a school teacher. He runs a podcast, everyone, called the Teacher Takeaway Podcast. I'm just on the website here now. Welcome to the Teacher Takeaway Podcast. It's hosted by 4 Australian teachers. The purpose of this podcast is to provide educators with practical takeaway ideas to implement with their classroom or school setting. Your hosts, Aaron Johnson, Elise Vigers, sorry, Elise, haven't met you, but there you go, Rebecca West and James Gray. So I'm going to send this episode to Aaron, and Aaron, I want you to listen to this, and I want you to reply to my message, and I'm going to connect you with Barbara because I think it would be very awesome for you to go on their podcast at some point.
Absolutely. Another trip up too.
Well, I think they do remote, but
okay. Yep.
So that's number one. Number two, check out. Before we actually go, talk to me. What you've got something in the works for? Because I know we've talked a lot about teens.
Yeah.
What are we teaching for under fives? What have you got in the works?
So, jumping back to that concept that attitudes and behaviours and mindsets are largely set by the age of 7. We've been wondering, what do we do? Because once again, you don't want to expose your kids to these things prematurely in the wrong way. And so a lot of parents, they come to us and go, how do we do this? We don't want to do it wrong. So I've partnered up with the most awesome lady called Abby Melbourne. She is an accountant, a very good one at that, and a mother of 2. And we have created this really cool book called Smart Cookies. And it's an interactive board book. And the focus is on connecting the concept of spending and earning and your bank balance going up and down. And that seems like a really basic thing or irrelevant thing, but Abby was telling me how her two-year-old picked up a gold coin, went to the the cashier, and started tapping the gold coin on the tap machine, thinking that they were tapping and that's how they get money out that way. So they're not growing up in a world where cash will even be a thing, really.
No.
It'll be a novelty. And so connecting to young kids that money lives in the cloud, but it's a finite resource we won't get into the conversations of abundance and, and scarcity, but it's a finite resource in your bank account, connecting those two topics.
Yeah, and it's really cool because it's like, what do you call it? Like what type of book is it?
It's a board book.
A board book.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then so you open it, I've seen it, and the kid can get their finger and move a physical thing, and the numbers change when they move the money. So all that to say, that's on the website that we'll put below.
That's it. We are actually running a Kickstarter campaign at this very second. So you can simply grab your copy, and that goes towards a Kickstarter campaign. But is
that thing where people crowdfund it?
You fund a project.
What are you after? How
much? We are after $5,000. So it's very it's a very low goal, but we're selling the copies.
Is the Kickstarter up at the time of recording right now?
Yes.
What's it called? Kickstarter?
Oh, sorry, no, not.
Okay, I won't bring it up now. I'm just interested because I might help you out there. So
yeah.
Get in that, everyone. If you've got kids, or if you're about to have a kid, or if you want a gifts for first-year-old birthdays or anything like that.
That's it. And it's a book that, yes, money is the primary learning, but ultimately the lessons are lots to do around numeracy, so counting 1 to 5, and then for older kids you can count up to 30, and then
wow, I would enjoy that one.
Yeah, it's a big one. But then as a entrepreneur myself, I love that mindset, and I think it's such an important skill for young people growing up. I think it's a critical skill. The book kind of has that entrepreneurship concept throughout, and also the focus on generosity and community. So it's a very lighthearted, fun little book, and you won't feel like you're teaching anything because it's written in a way that's so enjoyable and nice and friendly. So yeah, it's a really cool little project.
That will be on the Mandy Money website.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So anything else we need to sell to everyone? We need to sell forward this episode to a educator of any sort, stakeholder. If you're friends with the education minister, send it to them.
Absolutely.
All that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And we're always open to working on, we are very responsive to what our audience is after and what parents and young people are after. So if there's a particular area that you go, I really want education in that space or in this format, please feel free to reach out to us. We love getting in touch with our community.
And my next challenge is to try and convince Barbara to a book for late teens, early 20s, money book, investing book. That's what we're going to do, everyone. We're going to try and do a collab. That's our goal here.
We got it.
Hey, it's Glenn here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.